It's Wednesday, February 12, 2020. We are on our way back to California, pulled over to take a little break here, wanted to shoot a quick video for you today and just check in. I was just reading a little bit about what's happening in China. China apparently is now reopening some of its factories because of the economic pressure it is sustaining with this infection. And by doing so, they are putting so many lives at risk, allowing people to come back to these factories, putting people back together. This is a formula for disaster. But again, they're under so much economic pressure, this massive economic machine, this manufacturing machine, that they don't care about the people. They care about getting back to manufacturing and being the biggest producers and manufacturers, second biggest economy in the world. They don't care about the people. They care about the bottom line. And this is very, very dangerous. And we'll see how it all plays out. Will more people become sick, or is the worst over? China believes that by ignoring the dangers and putting people back into factories, back to work, that this is the solution. We're going to see. Very, very dangerous. But as the day continues, I was reading an article on Bloomberg, and it's titled "U.S. Budget Deficit Blows Out to 9-Year High." It is now up 25% from a year ago. Just look at what is happening in the world today. The whole situation in China, and then our situation right here in America. Our biggest danger here in America right now today is debt. These debts and deficits are unsustainable. They're ballooning out of control. And this is an enormous threat to the future of America, and every one of you should be extremely concerned because they are making us debt slaves. We're never going to get out of this as long as this continues. The first 4 months of the fiscal year, the deficit has surged to $389 billion. That's 25% more than the $310 billion a year ago. I mean, this country cannot stop spending. We need to understand that when more goes out than is coming in, we've got problems, and nothing is getting put under control. Our politicians, our president, we don't hear anything about the debts and the deficits. We continue to spend more, print more, and acquire more debt. This morning, the Fed injected another $40 billion into the repo market, but yet they're telling us not to fear, the economy's booming, everything is okay. If everything is okay, how come we just got another injection of $40 billion to keep this whole illusion propped up? Americans increased borrowing for the 22nd straight quarter as more households took out loans to buy homes or refinance existing mortgages. Total U.S. debt rose $601 billion in the fourth quarter from a year earlier. We have now surpassed $14 trillion in household debt. It's an all-time high. Nobody's paying debt down. People are just acquiring more debt. The scary thing here is when you think about when this economy turns, when it corrects, the amount of damage we're going to see here in the United States of America because people are so reliant on debt and they're drowning in debt. Imagine, it's going to be like putting a lead anchor on their leg once this thing turns. That's $1.5 billion above the previous peak in the third quarter of 2008. So, you know, you can believe what you want in regards to the economy, but to me, it looks like from the signs that I see, the economy is extremely weak as the consumers, average American falls deeper and deeper into debt. I think if the economy was really booming and people were really making good wages, they would not be holding this much debt. Overall household debt is now 28.8% above the second quarter 2013 high. Total debt for young adults 18 to 29 rose a record $1.04 trillion. Student loan debt now is at $1.51 trillion. It was $1.46 trillion in 2018. Auto debt has risen 35 consecutive quarters. It's increased $16 billion from the previous quarter. I mean, look at how debt is exploding. It is absolutely running wild. It is absolutely out of control. Auto loans rose to $1.33 trillion. Credit card debt is now $930 billion and climbing. We will be breaking $1 trillion of credit card debt. Student loan debt, 1 in 9 borrowers is delinquent. 90 days plus delinquent, according to this article. About half of student loans are currently in deferment. I'm not going to argue that there are not a lot of jobs in America, because there are a lot of jobs in America. Problem is, they're all low-wage, low-paying jobs. And I don't get, maybe somebody out there can explain this to me, how does America continue to be the world superpower, have this dominant economy, when we have a country loaded with service sector jobs, people making $13, $14 an hour, and a country of consumers, consumption. I don't understand how this continued to go on much longer. 1 in 3 American workers run out of money before payday. 1/3 of Americans have regular financial stress. The average household income in America is around $50,000. That's 2 people, maybe 3 people in a household. $50,000 after taxes, that's like $35,000. When you talk about the price of rent, the price of an automobile, the price of food today, how in the world are people doing it? This is another reason why we're seeing these payday loans, these legalized loan sharks popping up all over the place, charging you 300, 400%. People don't even have enough money to make it to payday. They're so far behind, yet we're being told, we're being conditioned that this is a great economy. And I'm not putting this on the blame of anybody in particular, okay? But I'm just calling it the way I see it. I just left Nevada, beautiful state, but I just look at people walking around like zombies. I look at people working, okay? I try to get a burger today at Fat Burger, and I was literally greeted by a zombie who couldn't put 2 words together and literally just had to walk away. It was obviously somebody that didn't like their job, and you just see a lot of that. I just see people just walking around, you know, like complete zombies. People look depressed. They look physically in very bad shape. They're not taking care of themselves. I see a massive amount of people walking around that are obese. People you can tell who are, you know, on pharmaceuticals, and that gives that zombie-like appearance where people are just zoned out from reality because they're on their pharmaceuticals and they're just walking through a tunnel. And this is reality, and that's not, you know, that's not a judgment. This is a pure observation while I was in Nevada. And of course, look, I'm near the casinos and I get it. People are like zombies in casinos, but people smoking, people drinking, people eating, people throwing in money as fast as they can into the machines, and they literally knock you over because they can't even walk straight. This is reality today. These are the sheep. These are the masses. So conditioned. So easy to condition people when they're loaded on pharmaceuticals, when they're addicted to their alcohol, addicted to gambling. I'm sure if I asked 99% of the people that I walked past in the last couple days what was going on in the world today, most people probably wouldn't even know who the vice president of this country was, to be quite honest with you. These people are zoned out. And as I'm entering back to California, it's going to be the same thing. If I go to a mall, if I go to a store, people are in the bubbles. They don't care. They have checked out, whether because they're on their pharmaceuticals or they just don't care. They've given up. It's just interesting to observe what's going on here in the United States of America. And again, it's not a judgment on people in Nevada, because Nevada, I think, is a great state and there's some great people there. And let me make this point. Most of the people at these casinos in the Laughlin area aren't from Nevada. They're from all over the country. They're snowbirds flocking in for the warmer weather. But it's sad because most of these people are older. These are the baby boomers, and these are the people living off retirements, living off of pensions. And these people are going to be completely helpless if anything happens to their pension. Most people are one bad day from something horrible happening because they are broke. Again, when we were in Laughlin, many people walking around missing teeth, physically, limping, obese, bad coloring, just not the epitome of health. Let me put it that way. Again, not a judgment, it's an observation. But many of these people probably shouldn't be gambling, okay, because they look broke. Physically, they look broke. Spiritually, they look broke. And financially, to be honest with you, they look pretty broke. If something bad happened in these people's lives, like if many of these people got a flat tire today, they would be in extremely big trouble, okay? We know that 80% of this country is living paycheck to paycheck, yet people are out gambling. People are out, buying big screen TVs. They're buying $1,200 phones. They're buying things that they cannot even afford because we have this mentality today, this narcissistic, hedonistic mentality of I want it now. I want to satisfy my needs now. I want to impress people now. It doesn't matter what the cost is, and it doesn't matter what tomorrow brings. I'll worry about it then. And tomorrow's going to come at some point. Reality is coming, ladies and gentlemen. And these people who aren't worrying about tomorrow, they're going to be in a world of hurt when tomorrow comes, because tomorrow's not going to be a nice day. We have an economic tsunami coming to America. I checked earlier, the market was up nearly 200 points. I don't know what it has closed at, but people are going to just tell me how well their little 401k is doing, how well their little stocks are doing. Although they don't have the money in hand, okay, but they are one bad day away, okay, from very horrible things from happening. If you're a household with a $50,000 income, or you're a household with a $100,000 income, or a $200,000 income, people are still going into debt. And many times it isn't even a matter how much money you make, because you can make $250,000 a year, your household, and still be going into debt because you cannot control your standard of living. You cannot control your lifestyle. You're making $250,000, but you're trying to live like you make $1 million. If you're making $100,000, you're trying to live like you make $500,000. If you have a $50,000 household, too many people are living like they're making $100,000. How about this? If you have a household of $50,000, look, you need to start living like you're making $29,000. If you're making $100,000, maybe you need to bring it down and start living like you're making $59,000. Because whether you're rich, you're poor, or anything in between, if you cannot save money, you will go broke. Whether you make $1 million a year, $100,000 a year, or $15,000 a year, if you cannot save money, you will go 100% broke. That is a guarantee. So guys, I'm going to wrap it up, but remember, $1 million a year, $100,000 a year, $25,000 a year. You have to have an emergency fund. Don't be dependent on that 401k being there for you. Don't be dependent on that pension being there for you, those stocks being there for you, that money market being there for you. There are no guarantees. If this collapse hits America hard enough, this stuff's all going to be wiped out, okay? And from all evidence The pensions are going to get wiped out. The 401ks will get wiped out. The stock market is going to take a massive haircut. And so what happens if those don't exist? What do you do then? What's going to happen to your future? Your wealth, it's wiped out overnight. Look, there are no buyers at this point. Everybody's going to be exiting. Everybody's going to be selling. Unfortunately, there will not be buyers, and massive, massive damage economically is going to take place in America. And you do not want to be one-dimensional. That's great if you have a 401k. That's great if you have a pension. But you've got to think worst case scenario, diversification. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. That's great if that's there for you, but right now, none of that is in your hand. Right now, it's imperative to be saving cash and hard, tangible assets, because if that stuff gets wiped out, if you don't hold it, you don't own it. And if it gets wiped out, what are you holding today? What do you have today? Do you have silver? Do you have gold? Do you have cash on hand? Do you have that emergency fund that's easily accessible when the pension and the money markets and the 401k are inaccessible? They're wiped out, they're gone, they're history. Now, all you have is what's in hand. So make sure that every day, while you have the opportunity, that could be a week, that could be a year, it could be 10 years, but I believe the time is running shorter and shorter. Take every day you have, food, water, security, put your medical preparations away, and make sure that you're protecting yourself financially, because you have no guarantee, there is no guarantee that paper, that stocks, promises, pensions are going to be here for you. If they are, great. Then you're going to be even that better off, because you're going to have preparations and you're going to have hard assets to go along with that pension, to go along with that 401k. But what if it's not there? At least you've got something to fall back on. You know, there is a frequent question that I get asked quite a bit in the comments, and I want to address this question again today. Now, first off, I want to say this. I'm not a financial planner. I'm not a millionaire. I'm in the same boat as most of you. But I get asked this question, and I'm sure that a lot of you have seen this question asked, and maybe you get asked this question also. But people will ask me, they'll say, hey, I don't make a whole lot of money. I have very limited income. How can I prepare when I don't have that much money, when I don't make that much money? And there's a couple of different answers to that. Number one, maybe you need to go work a little harder, a little bit longer. Can you work an extra 4 hours a week? Can you work an extra 4 hours a day? Can you work an extra 10 hours a week, 20 hours a week? Can you go get a side hustle? Options. Can you cut out? This is interesting, because a lot of people that will write me, when I look them up on social media, what's the first thing I see? I see them at Starbucks with a $7 latte in their hand, but yet they're telling me they can't buy an ounce of silver because they don't have any money. But they're on Facebook at Starbucks with a $7 latte. Maybe you cut the latte out a couple times a week and you buy an ounce of silver. That's another thing we could do. How about just making some sacrifices? How many times are you going out to McDonald's? How many times are you going out to dinner? How many times are you going out to the bar and drinking a beer? It's funny too, because I see people on social media drinking, you know, a glass of wine, drinking a beer at a bar that they paid $7 to $10 for, yet they don't have any money. Same people with their $1,200 iPhone don't have any money. So I think we have to look back and say, hey, I think if we cut some things out, make a little sacrifice here, make an adjustment here, maybe work 4 more hours a week over here, we might have some extra money. Maybe you just don't go out to eat as much. Maybe you don't take that weekend trip. Maybe you don't need to be driving a 2020 or a 2019. Maybe you should be driving a 2014, a 2012, a 2015. I think if people really wanted to make some changes in their life, they could do it. Do your kids need a brand new pair of $175 Nikes, or do you need $175 of silver? I mean, you really have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, what do I need? What can I live without? And what can I do to buy hard assets? Can I live without the gym shoes? Can I live without a brand new car? Something has to be cut out. I have to do it. There are things that I would love to buy, things I would love to do that would be a lot more fun than going and buying coins, buying silver, buying gold. There are things I would rather do. But I made a choice in life that I like to sleep at night and have that assurance that if something bad happens, I'm gonna be okay. We all have to just come to a point in our life where you have to weigh out things. What's more important to you? Is partying on the weekends more important to you? I think a lot of people it is. That's why they choose to go party and drink rather than go buy a few ounces of silver. So I'm gonna answer it that way. Please, you know what? I wanna hear, this is a great question, and I want people watching this video today, please comment down below. Give us your advice, because look, the most intellectual people are the people in the comments. I want to see what you guys say. Comment down below. What's the best advice you would give these people who say they don't have the money, they don't have the resources in order to make preparations, to buy the emergency food, to buy some silver? What should they do? Give us your advice. It would be gladly appreciated. I think we would learn a lot from the people out there in the comments. I would love to see what your advice would be. So I'm gonna leave it there today. Please comment down below. And remember, give this video a thumbs up, share it with everybody you know, blast it all over social media. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe. God bless every one of you. Thanks for watching. Talk to you very soon.